Good afternoon, everyone. We are Charity, Mariama, Heather, and Michael, and today we are stepping into the role of HR consultants for Amazon. Our focus is the company's return to work mandate, the 5-day a week requirement that has generated significant employee pushback. Over the next few minutes, we will walk through what the mandate is, what employees are telling us, the effect it is having on the workforce, and a set of practical recommendations to address those concerns. Our goal throughout is constructive, not to criticize the decision, but to help Amazon reach collaboration and productivity goal while keeping its people engaged and retained. Let's begin with a quick look at how the presentation is organized. Here's the roadmap for our discussion. We have organized the presentation into 4 parts. First, an overview of the situation and Amazon's stated rationale for the mandate. The mandate came as a surprise to all employees and was pushed with significant feedback and much criticism. Second, the concerns and feedbacks we are hearing directly from the employees, backed by survey data and researched information. Third, the effects the mandate is having across morale, workplace safety, and personal well-being. And finally, our recommendations where we translate those findings into concrete HR actions. Keeping these 4 buckets in mind will help you see how each piece of the evidence connects with the guidance we offer at the end. Let's start with the overview. My name is Michael Flint, and I will start our presentation off with the overview of Amazon. Amazon Incorporated is a prominent American technology and retail company founded in 1994 by Jeff Bezos in Seattle, Washington. Initially launched as an online bookstore, Amazon rapidly evolved into the world's largest internet retail platform, expanding its offering to a wide range of products and services, including electronics, media, and groceries. The company is also a leader in cloud computing through Amazon Web Services, AWS, which provide essential infrastructure for many online businesses. Amazon is guided by 4 mission principles: customer obsession rather than competitor focus, passion for intervention, commitment to operational excellence, and long-term thinking. Amazon's vision statement is to be Earth's most customer-centric company, to build a place where people can come to find and discover anything they might want to buy online. It is the largest online retailer in the world that accounts for more than $716 billion in annual revenue. Amazon mission, vision, and value motivate 70% of Amazon employees. Besides getting paid, the company mission is the most important thing about their work for 8% of employees at Amazon. 14% of employees say that the main reason they stay at Amazon is because of the Amazon company mission. When asked to whom they feel the most loyal at work, 20% of employees said Amazon's vision and mission. Comparably, data clearly shows that a focused mission statement and cohesive core company values are vital to maintaining employee alignment. Despite its growth and innovation, Amazon has faced scrutiny over labor practices, monopoly claims, and environmental impacts. Critics have raised concerns about working conditions within its warehouses and the pressure on employees to maintain high productivity. Additionally, the company has been involved in various legal challenges related to antitrust issues and competition laws. In December 2019, the COVID-19 pandemic was a global issue that spread quickly and crippled in-person workflows. Mandatory work-from-home policies were put in place, and 6 feet distance stipulations was required around individuals. The adaptation of the work-from-home policy was huge, as most companies did not have this in place. Most organizations were still working in an office environment and never experienced remote work. This took some time getting used to, and this was a requirement while medical personnel was trying to get COVID under control. Remote work or hybrid work was a standard for the next couple of years, and most corporate employees thought this was the future going forward. To set the stage for this overview, in September 2024, Amazon announced that corporate employees would be required to return to the office 5 days a week beginning early 2025. This reversed the hybrid arrangement many teams had operated under since the pandemic. It is one of the most aggressive return to office policies among major technology employers, and it affects hundreds of thousands of corporate workers. Understanding the scale and abruptness of this shift matters because it explains why the reaction has been so strong. In the next slide, we will look at the company's own reasoning for making this change.
Hello, I'm Mariama Davis, and I'm going to begin speaking about the employee opinions of productivity and collaboration. On Monday, September 16th, 2024, the CEO, Andy Jassy, sent a memo to all Amazon corporate employees stating that all employees will return to office on a 5-day work week in the beginning of 2025. Mr. Jassy has argued that returning to the office 5 days a week strengthens the company's ability to innovate, collaborate, and connect as teams. In other words, the leadership in Amazon sees in-person work as central to Amazon's culture and long-term performance. We want to acknowledge that this is a legitimate business goal, and our recommendations later are designed to protect it. The questions we have to ask is whether employees share that same view and whether the data supports it, and that is exactly where we're going to go next. Are employees satisfied with the 5 days a week return schedule? The answer is strikingly clear. In a blind poll of more than 2,500 verified Amazon professionals, 91% said they were dissatisfied with the 5-day in-office schedule, and only 9% were satisfied. That is not a marginal split. It is a near consensus. A number this lopsided tells us the concern is not coming from a vocal minority, but from the workforce as a whole. It also signals real retention or morale risk if the concerns go unaddressed. To respond well, we first need to understand exactly what employees are worried about, which is where a structured needs assessment comes into play.
Hello, my name is Heather Dix, and I will be going over the needs assessment areas. Before I jump into solutions, good HR practice is to assess needs systematically. These are the 8 areas we recommend evaluating: employee readiness, commuting, work-life balance, the workplace environment, technology, communication, manager support, and well-being. Each one represents a place where the mandate could create friction, and each is measurable through surveys, focus groups, and existing HR data. Framing the problem this way keeps the conversation objective and helps leadership see that this is about removing barriers, not resisting change. On the next slide, we show what employees actually rank as their top concerns. Conducting a comprehensive need assessment helps Amazon identify potential challenges before implementing its return to office policy. By gathering employee feedback and evaluating organizational readiness, Amazon can change the way employees are resistant to change. It can help strengthen collaboration and also maintain productivity while in transition. So when we map out those assessment areas against employee feedback, a clear hierarchy of concerns emerges. Long commutes top the list, followed closely by work-life balance, childcare, then parking and transportation, office workspace, and technology. The pattern is telling. The biggest objections are logistical and personal, not a refusal to work. People aren't refusing to work, they just are is finding problems and how to logistically get to work. Just thinking about transportation, thinking about waking up early, changing their breakfast routines, changing the current routines they are in, and also personal routines with mom and dad and kids. Those now change, and being able to travel and spend time with family while also working, not missing holidays, not missing birthdays and family celebrations. The kinds of barriers an employee can lower through thoughtful policy. Note that these figures are illustrative of a needs assessment rather than a single published survey, but they align with the themes we see across the real data. Now that we understand the concerns, let's look at the effects the mandate is having.
Hi everyone, my name is Charity Curry. Having heard the concerns, we now turn to the effects, the real consequences the mandate is producing. We will group them into 3 areas. First, low morale and job dissatisfaction, including the burnout tied to rising workloads. Second, workplace safety issues. And third, the personal impact on employees' lives and well-being. For each, we will look at the evidence and why it matters to Amazon's bottom line. Let's start with morale.
Let's talk about low morale and job dissatisfaction. The first effect is a sharp drop in morale and confidence. In the Strategic Organizing Center survey of Amazon corporate workers, 87% said they expect the 5-day mandate to worsen their productivity, and only 4% thought it would improve. 81% said workplace relationships would stay the same or get worse. This is significant because the company's own justification for the mandate is better collaboration and productivity, yet employees predict the opposite. At least 1,000 Amazon office workers wanted to stage a walkout to take a stand against the company's aggressive return to office mandate. Employees used messaging platforms like Slack to petition and protest against the in-office mandate. In retaliation, a small group of staffers backed Jazzy's return to office plans, supported the decision once it was announced. When the people doing the work expect the policy to backfire, that gap deserves attention. The next slide shows how this dissatisfaction translates into retention and trust risk.
On this slide, we will see where morale becomes a business risk. The same survey that found that large majorities would not recommend Amazon as an employer believe the company does not follow through on its commitments and were recruited under remote or hybrid expectations. In the aftermath of Jazzy's new in-office policy announcement, workers report that their trust in Amazon is very low, and some report that they feel deceived by the company. Nearly 59% surveyed workers report that Amazon hiring managers recruited them with the expectation that they could work fully remote or hybrid schedules at the company. Many have stated leaving the company within the next year, and a substantial share of employees were applying elsewhere. Taken together, these numbers point to a serious flight risk and an erosion of trust. Replacing experienced talents is expensive and slow. So this is not just an employee relations issue, it is a cost and continuity issue. Alongside morale, employees are also raising alarms about workload, and that's closely tied to the push towards artificial intelligence or AI. But not only is the return to office policy impacting existing workers, it was also making it more challenging for Amazon to recruit new talent. Some of the challenges that workers stated that they would endure would be caregiving, workers with disability, and personal impact.
So is AI going to replace human workers in the future. Let's dig into this. So, part of the anxiety is about job security in an AI driven environment. Across the tech sector, monthly layoffs totals have remained high, and Amazon has announced roughly 30,000 corporate cuts, spanning human resources, operations, devices, and cloud divisions. Against that backdrop, employees naturally ask whether AI is being used to replace people rather than support them. The fear shapes how the return to office mandate is received. When trust is already low, a hard mandate can feel like added pressure rather than an investment. So the next slide details the workload concerns employees have put in writing.
In late 2025, employees escalated their concerns in an open letter in protest against AI implementation. The open letter was in reference to AI and the influence it has on future growth with the company. There were four main concerns with the AI backlash, and they are as followed. First, unrealistic productivity quotas, with workers reporting they are expected to do twice as much because of AI tools that are not actually closing the gap, leading to burnout. Second, job displacement paired with too little investment in career growth. Third, environmental concerns about the energy and water demands of new AI data centers, which will consume vast amounts of energy for higher production costs. And fourth, surveillance and ethical misuse, with calls for worker-led oversight of how AI is deployed. Whether or not one agrees with every claim, the letter signals a workforce that feels unheard, which is the core issue our recommendations aim to fix.
The second major effect is workplace safety. The data here is concrete. Serious injury rates at Amazon sit at about 6.8 per 100 workers, more than double the industry benchmark of 3.3. Injuries rose roughly 20% year over year, and OSHA flagged ergonomic hazards at multiple warehouses in 2023. We frame this as an opportunity. Bringing safety into closer balance with speed and output goals is achievable, and doing so directly builds the employee trust the return to office mandate will depend on. Safety and morale are linked, and both feed into our third effect, the personal impact on employees.
The third effect is personal. Research by Gibson and colleagues find that remote and hybrid work often improves work-life balance, scheduling flexibility, and mental health, with particular benefits for parents, caregivers, and people with disabilities. Removing that flexibility carries real costs. Many employees live more than 45 minutes from the office. Some relocated based on earlier remote policies, and others now facing relocating again. The personal impact shows up as higher stress, strained mental health, and pressure on relationships with loved ones. These human factors are the ones most easily overlooked in a policy decision, and they are exactly what a strong HR response should address. That brings us to our recommendations.
Based on everything we've heard, we propose 4 recommendations, and this slide previews all of them. First, adopt a flexible phased hybrid model rather than an abrupt 5-day rule. Second, rebuild trust through transparent two-way communication. Third, protect well-being and keep workloads and safety sustainable. And fourth, invest in retention and career growth to hold on to talent. Each recommendation maps directly to a concern we documented, and together they let Amazon pursue its collaboration goals without sacrificing its people. Now let's unpack each recommendation. Our first recommendation is to move away from an all-at-once 5-day mandate and toward a flexible phased hybrid model. The survey data is the reason 87% of employees expect productivity to worsen under the 5-day rule, and 59% were recruited with the understanding that they could work remotely or hybrid. A phased approach, starting with 2 or 3 in-office days and increasing gradually, gives teams time to adjust and let us measure what actually happens to output. For roles where the work is not tied to a physical location, we recommend keeping hybrid options and honoring the flexibility current employees were promised when they were hired. Most importantly, we suggest measuring productivity by results and goals met rather than by how many days someone badges in. This keeps Amazon's collaboration goals in view while rebuilding goodwill with the workforce. The second recommendation focuses on rebuilding trust, which the survey suggests has taken a major hit. An overwhelming 84% of employees said they do not believe Amazon follows through on its commitments, and 76% said they would not recommend the company as a place to work. Those kind of perceptions are not likely to change because of a single policy adjustment. Trust is rebuilt through consistent, honest, and transparent communication over time. To address this, leadership should clearly explain the reasoning behind any office attendance requirements and support those decisions with data so employees understand the purpose rather than seeing the change as arbitrary. Equally important is creating opportunities for employees to be heard through town halls, manager-led discussions, and anonymous feedback channels. But listening alone is not enough. Amazon should regularly communicate how employee feedback has influenced decisions, provide sufficient notice before making policy changes, and follow through on commitments. By narrowing the gap between what leadership says and what leadership does, Amazon can begin to restore the credibility and trust that the survey indicates has been lost.
Our third recommendation focuses on well-being and workload. Because the mandate lands on a workforce already reporting burnout, stress, and strain on their personal lives, employees have told us they are expected to do roughly twice the work because of AI tools, often with shorter deadlines. We recommend setting realistic, humane targets and pairing new AI tools with training and support rather than higher quotas. On the people side, that means expanding mental health resources and training managers to recognize and ease burnout early. It also means raising the safety bar by strengthening ergonomic and safety programs toward industry leading standards, which connects directly to the warehouse safety record we looked at earlier. And practically adding commuter benefits and relocation support helps offset the added cost and time of being on site 5 days a week. Protecting well being is not a giveaway. It is what keeps demanding a pace sustainable. The final recommendation is to invest in retention and career growth. Because the survey points to a real flight risk, 48% of employees have already applied for jobs elsewhere, and 68% say they are likely to leave within the year. In addition to that, recent layoffs have left people feeling that the company is investing in automation, but not in them. We recommend building clear career pathways and reskilling programs so employees see a future at Amazon in an AI-enabled workplace. For the people most likely to leave, state interviews and targeted retention incentives can make the difference. Managers need to be equipped with the tools and training to support and develop their teams, since frontline leaders drive retention more than policy does. And we should track retention, engagement, and employee net promoter scores over time so we can see whether trust is actually returning. Taken together, these 4 recommendations give Amazon a practical, people-first path to making the return to office transition work.
So that concludes our analysis and recommendations. To recap, the mandate has driven widespread dissatisfaction, career retention, and trust risks, safety and workload pressures, and a significant personal impact. For our 4 recommendations offer a constructive path forward. We now are glad to take your questions and discuss how these ideas could be tailored to Amazon's specific teams and timelines. Thank you for your time and attention. Have a wonderful day. And remember, we are always here to learn, support one another, and learn more about human resources and how these mandates and all of these different risks that are going on with companies affect the pressures in the workplace. We also have learned about the personal impact that has caused a lot of employees not to return to office. We hope that you learned something in this research, and thank you for all of your time and attention today, and we hope that you have a wonderful day.